Well, so I'm getting ready to do my first MBTI type interaction video of the new year, and this will be with an INFP for the first time. And as far as I know, this is actually her first type interaction video, so I have no idea what to expect. But hopefully, if things go as planned, she'll be joining the chat in a few minutes. I'm just gonna get my headphones and everything ready, and I'll be set to go in a minute. Welcome to another Myers-Briggs Type Interaction. I'm Celebach, I'm an ISTP, and I'm talking with Kendra, who's an INFP, who's fairly new to YouTube, but she's been posting some really interesting MBTI-related videos or INFP-related videos, and is clearly very knowledgeable about MBTI from videos I've seen. And so I'm just excited to do this video. I think this is your very first interaction video, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I just to get started, why don't you just tell a bit about who you are and how you got interested in Myers-Briggs, and I guess your journey into figuring out your INFP type.
Okay, sure. Ooh, are you getting an echo on your side?
I'm not hearing an echo. Is it echoing?
Okay. Every now and then, maybe it should be okay.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. Well, I took the MBTI test in college, and I'm almost 26, so I've been out of college for a few years now. So, took it back in college, and in school, and also now in the workforce, I come across as an INTJ, which is hard to believe watching my videos, but it kind of boils down to the type of work I do. I work in finance, and so you're kind of investigating issues. You kind of come up with, like, I'll come up with a theory. You kind of like introverted intuition. You'll come up with a theory, and then you'll dig in and try to see if that's the case. So and I don't know, that analytical side of it came out in the tests. I just kind of considered how I was at work and whatnot, and so I kept testing as INTJ for a while, for a few years, until recently I got back into it because I was curious again, and I didn't feel like it had really captured me the first few times I got into it. So took it again recently and to learn more about the functions and actual function analysis, and someone had suggested that I might be an INFP, and so I looked into that as well as ISFP, and it just really fit. It just really fit, like, to a T. It's amazing. And so the more I've learned about it, the more it's really helped me just kind of understand and accept who I am and not feel the need to be some other way, or I don't know. It's helped me with confidence quite a bit, so it's been great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about how long has it been since you realized that you're an INFP?
Only a few months. I mean, maybe since, I would say, about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, I never would have guessed that, because it sounded like you've been into this for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Well, as soon as I figured that out, I dove into it and just got my hands on anything. Oh, it froze. Are you still going? Okay, here we go. I just dove into it. I started reading everything I could possibly read on it, and dove into the online communities and tried to just read any input that was out there about being an INFP, and tried to find any differences that I could find that would convince me of being something else. So I really double-checked it, triple-checked it, and looked through, and I just find it really fascinating. I've always really been into psychology. It was one of my favorite courses to take in school. And so this has kind of been an outlet that I could get back into it. And so I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was similar for me too, because I mean it was kind of a similar journey, because like I when I first took the test, I got ISTJ, and I got INTJ a couple of times.
I thought you were an ISTJ. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've heard that ISTPs can come across as INTJs, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. But I guess somehow, because like the functions aren't really the same. It's like
no, it's like opposite everything.
Yeah, because their thinking is extroverted, mine's introverted, and but yeah, but I guess I can kind of see why I would mistype as INTJ, because like my S versus N has always been on the border. I mean this is before I figured out that I'm an ISTP. I would just the way all the questions were worded, like all the N related questions, I could somewhat relate to. I now think it's because of my tertiary NI, because a lot of the questions are more NI related than NE, and I related to that. And so I guess, yeah, I think it was another reason. Well, and just the idea that I was never quite sure what the questions were really asking. And I never really, when they would describe, like, do you focus on details, or do you look at the big picture? And I'm thinking, well, I like to look at both.
Right.
Like, I was just not really aware of my natural preferences, like what I do in each in given situations.
Sure.
And but yeah, the J versus P, that was totally just because of my upbringing, which that's something that once I figured that out, that was kind of like when I really just began to grasp, like, oh, my natural preference is actually perceiving. And when I figured out, that all that points to ISTP, the functions point to ISTP, and then it just all just made sense.
Sure. I actually didn't realize. I tried to watch some of your videos today just so I wouldn't be repetitive asking you the same questions other people have, but I didn't realize until today that I could definitely see the ISTP now. And I think one of the videos that made me realize that was when you were speaking with the ISFP, that interaction video. It was recently, I think, within the past month or two maybe, and kind of how I didn't realize how you I don't know, you guys were talking about organization first of all, like you're kind of more go with the flow, or you were talking about road trips and kind of being able to do those types of things, and I could start to see it more. Like I think at first you have a kind of a structured. Someone would assume you'd be a very structured personality like that, like a J, but. You seem to be much more free flow than I had initially, I don't know, picked up on. So it's interesting. It really is, yeah.
Yeah. The being structured and organized, that's just like I said, it was part of my upbringing. It was like the way I was raised. My mom was my mom's an ESFJ, and she just like totally tried to raise me with J type values. And she would always tell me, like, when I was growing up, she would tell me just to do all my homework before I could watch TV or play video games or anything. And yeah, she would just like try to teach me how to have a good just stick to a schedule, and like how to be on time for things. Like she would always remind me, like, it's time to go to bed, it's time to get up, and dinner was always ready at a certain time. And so like I would always I ended up just kind of valuing those things that that J's value. So that's when I would answer the questions on the on personality tests, I would just anything that had to do with with judging versus perceiving, I would go, oh, I prefer to be organized, even though that's just
Right.
not my natural preference. If you were just walking in my bedroom right now, you go, oh yeah, this is this is not a judgment.
Yeah.
Um,
Similar for me, both my parents are SJs, and actually, I'm the only intuitive type in my family, in my immediate family, which is weird. um, so, yeah, my mom's an ISFJ, and my stepdad is an ESTJ. So, so yeah, I think the reason I ended up being the way I am is because um, I have three older siblings and one younger. So by the time I was kind of like the middle child syndrome on my own a lot. And is it frozen? Is it frozen for you? Can you still hear me?
Looks fine for me.
Okay. Okay, I think it must just be my phone. I was kind of left to my own devices. They weren't as hard on me as my older sisters and my younger. It's like I got right in the middle there where I just slipped by the SJ. But so I was kind of left to my own little imaginary world, and so I don't really feel the pressures that, and I guess I would have normally if maybe I was one of my other sisters, for example, or yeah. So I don't know. There's definitely been some relationship issues because of our types, for sure. But you just kind of learn where the boundaries are, I guess.
Yeah. That is so common. From what I've seen on other people have talked about, like almost like I guess half the people who've done these interactions, like will say they have an ISFJ mom or an ESFJ. And I've got my own theories about why that's the case, but
Sure.
yeah, I mean, ISFJ is like I think the most common female type.
Yeah, it's up there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, just plus the fact that when you have SJ parents, that's where a lot of the conflict comes from, and how that's why a lot of people when they discover their type, they really they embrace it, they identify with it, and it's like it kind of answers a lot of questions for them.
Oh yeah.
And I noticed that's really common, especially for NF types. Yeah. So, but yeah. For me, it was just mainly just the idea that realizing that my natural preferences were just totally different from what I was raised with, and just having discovering my own identity.
Sure.
I didn't seek out wanting to learn about personality. The first several times, or for years, I would run across these personality tests on the web. Either it would be passed around through email or Facebook or whatever, and I just never took it seriously until like middle of last year, when I still believed I was an ISTJ, and ran across it was actually Pneumoceptor's YouTube video. It was called Ode to the ISTJ, and she was describing her best friend who's an ISTJ, and I was like, okay, this is totally not me. That was kind of like maybe, it was like the final straw that made me go, okay, what is going on here? And I just did the research, tried to figure out, joined Personality Cafe, learned about the functions, and realized I was an ISTP. And I'm like, oh, now it makes sense.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm actually married to an ISTJ, or ISTP, I'm sorry, who also originally thought, once I got into the personality thing, it's like, hey, here, take this. And I tried to get him to read more about the functions than just relying on the test. And so he tested, I think, ISTJ. But I know him, and I know he is very much into going his own way. He has to figure out his own way to do things and ways to think about certain things. So I had a hunch from the beginning that he was ISTP, and now that he's gotten into it, he really thinks he's really kind of embraced it. Yeah, he's an ISTP for sure. So.
That's something one of the things I was kind of interested in talking about, just the idea that you being married to an ISTP, because like the functions are just totally opposite.
Yeah.
Like your bottom functions are his top, and so like
Oh yeah.
but yeah.
Well,
So
with him, oh sorry. With him, it's interesting. There's a play in him between. He's from a very traditional, caring, like SFJ family. Everyone's very much, you know, um, very much involved in each other's lives, and so he's from that very supportive background. Are you still there?
oh yeah.
Okay, I don't know what my site keeps freezing. Anyway, so he's from that sort of background, very like nurturing, caring, and traditional. And so I think he, just as you were brought up with the kind of the SJ values, I think he was too. And that's also helped him sort of develop. He's a lot more in tune with his feelings side than most. I don't know than some other ISTPs would be. But that tradition that's kind of what threw him between being ISTJ and ISTP is just that he's taken a step back and analyzed those, and he's decided that he likes them. So it's not just accepting the way, what he was given. So he's gone that extra step that an ISTP would.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah. Between us two, it's really interesting because we both kind of have this independence about us. We go different ways of deciding that. I filter everything through FI. I'm like my FI is 100%. I have no FE. Like it's all FI. So it's everything goes through that filter of who am I, does this resonate with the type of decisions I could see myself making, and and I've got extroverted intuition feeding that, picking out different ideas and possibilities out of the air, out of the outside world, and filtering that in. And so it's similar, with extroverted sensing and introverted thinking. He does like to get out in the world and experience things, as I do. But he relates things back to what he's interested in, maybe projects he's working on or thoughts he's developing, logical thoughts he's developing. So it's kind of the same action. It's just different ways of processing it, I guess you could say. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, we've just learned that we really cherish the kind of adventurous streak that both of us have, and that brings us together. And we're also both kind of non-traditional, so that we can come together on that and understand where each other's coming from. And with the feeling, he's much more. He's very communicative about it. He does really try. He does get the SP rage every now and then, or like where he becomes overwhelmed with the emotion. Like usually he's very stress-free and clear-headed, but when it happens, it's like a faucet turned on, like full force, and then it's off again. So, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that is kind of a trait of ISTPs, and I don't really see it in myself. But I'm kind of curious to know if like other people have seen it in me. I just never got around to asking. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is more common than I realize, that I'm just denying it or something. But
well, I mean, it probably only comes out in kind of like high stress situations, like emotional stress. That's when you would see it, maybe.
Probably. I think it tends to happen a lot when. It happens whenever my parents come over to my place to visit, and like I get frustrated with something my mom does. I mean, I try to keep it inside and not let it get to me. But yeah, there have been times when like my mom would come over and like she likes to just come over and just start cleaning without asking me. And
yeah.
But yeah. It's not not in the sense of I want to do something nice for my son. It's more like this needs to be cleaned. I'm just this is all you're doing a horrible job of cleaning this, and she just goes ahead and does it how she thinks it should be done. And then of course lecturing me the whole time about how I need to clean more often. Like, yeah, just and then like every once in a while she might just throw away things without even asking me if it's trash.
Oh
Um,
man.
I mean, she's gotten better about doing that, or not doing that. But yeah,
Mhm.
the first few times, like after I first got my own place, and my parents would come over and visit. Yeah, my mom just like had a really hard time with seeing boundaries.
Oh yeah.
Uh, those kinds of incidents could easily set me off. But yeah, so which
Mhm.
I don't invite them over very often. But
Sure.
yeah. But when I go over
Sure.
to their place, everything's fine because I just let myself be the guest and let my mom do what she does.
They
But
have control of the situation.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, with my parents, it's my mom. She's ISFJ, but we share the music inclination. She's also a musician. She's just more technically talented than creatively, kind of. Then she doesn't write her own music. But she plays blues standards, and she's an amazing and taught herself basically. So she's very technically talented that way, and so we share that. And I think she is very traditional. She does have very traditional values, but she her nurturing side kind of takes over. I think more than her judging side, and she just kind of um, she just does the mom thing, nurtures and tries not to judge me too much. So that we've overcome that. My ESTJ stepfather, we've learned through. It's been a lot harder because I I like to kind of not give in to traditions and stuff. I like to go my own way, and I'm very creative. And that is completely opposite of what he is. He's not creative. He values like hard work and what's concrete in front of him, and
Yeah.
so that's been more challenging. But the ISFJ relationship has been a lot easier for me and her. So yeah, she's not as in your face as I guess an ESFJ might be. So yeah.
Yeah. And what's really funny though is my mom. Okay, so I gave my both my parents the same test or the last test that I took.
Mm-hmm.
They both got ISTJ, and
What? That's
uh,
weird.
yeah, and yeah, my mom is totally not an ISTJ. Um, but yeah, it's weird though because I went back and looked at that same test and went through the questions, and I could totally see my mom answering the questions that would result in an ISTJ. Um, yeah, because like she would actually deny that she does anything based on her feelings or that anything
Because
is
that's what you're supposed to
yeah. And
do. Yeah.
and then I started wondering like, is there something in our family background that makes us value like ISTJ values? And I actually my most recent YouTube video was actually about this. Um,
Mhm.
it was called "The Mystery of the ISTJ Family Persona," and it was more just kind of me being kind of humorous about it, because like I honestly have no idea where it's coming from because I'm like really horrible when it comes to knowing about my family history.
Yeah.
My great grandparents immigrated from Japan like almost 100 years ago, and so I really know nothing about that aspect of my ancestry. Um,
Sure, it's hard. I mean, I'm from Texas, but my family's been there since the early 1800s. So like it's really hard. Just tracing ancestry is really difficult. I've tried for years and can't get anywhere. So
yeah,
yeah.
but it's so funny. Like all three of us. I'm an only child, so it's just the three of us, and so we all have mistyped as ISTJ for some reason. None of us are actually ISTJs. Um,
That's funny.
or at least I don't think my dad. I'm pretty sure my dad is an ISTP like me. Um,
Hmm.
he just took on just ISTJ values for some reason. So might be either from from his parents or from living with my mom for so many years. Yeah, just those SJ values is rubbed off at him, and so like I just got it, dumped on me.
Oh
So
yeah, I think I see that in my grandparents. My grandmother passed away a year or two ago, and my grandfather's kind of on his own now. And I always thought he was an ISTJ, but now he just she was an ESFJ for sure, very much just in your face about it, And so now that he's kind of left to his own devices, he's just really way more spontaneous and fun-loving than I had ever seen before. So definitely think he's still very quiet, but yeah, I definitely think he's an ISTP now that I've seen him kind of in his own element for a while. So it's interesting how that happens.
okay, okay, that's interesting. 'Cause, like one of the things I was going to ask you about was if you've known other ISTPs besides your husband, like
Yeah, I'm kind of drawn to them. I don't know why this is echoing. I'm kind of drawn to them because of the activities I do. I was a rock climbing instructor in college and met a lot of ISTPs through that because I don't know, it just happened that, we did a lot of things like outdoor survivalist type things, and a lot of ISTPs, I guess, are drawn to that. So I met quite a few through there. Yeah, I mean, not all, but it just seemed to be, they just happened to be ISTPs and like making snares and stuff. I don't know. But, so yeah, I actually know quite a few. And then ESTPs, I tend to shy away from because I actually dated one in college, which was an interesting experience. But I tend to shy away from them just because they can be very dominating and kind of aggressive sometimes, some of them. So I don't know. I haven't met one that we just really clicked. So yeah, but ISTPs definitely. Mm-hmm.
yeah, because I found that kind of funny though, because like the way I first came across you on YouTube was your SP video. Like, and you talked about how like you think STPs are really hot, and I was like ooh, what's this? I watched the video and I was like, you're describing things you're attracted to in ISTPs, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. I don't fit that. I don't fit that. Like, okay, so, but yeah, but I was like, no, I just it was just it's one of those things where that's just well, I mean, that was one of the things that prevented me from accepting me being an ISTP for the longest time. Just the fact that there's so many stereotypes in the general descriptions. How they're into extreme sports, and they're risk takers, and they tend to be rebellious or defiant against the law. And I was like, well, I had no idea if these were like how common these are, and like whether I'm supposed to rely on that and deciding my type. And so I would just like, okay, that's not me, and then I would just kind of dismiss it. But
Sure.
Once I figured out, the functions and what it is about SPs or the SE function that leads to those stereotypes, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And what is when I drilled down to what extroverted sensing really is, I was able to see it in myself and
Sure.
see how I actually use it in my own life. Things like
and
that.
how is that? How is that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, just things like going off on spontaneous road trips just to experience it, just to experience the sights and sounds, and just being there to to see, like I might look at a map and say, okay, well that looks like this road looks like it leads to something interesting. I want to go there and see for myself.
Yeah.
And then just enjoying listening to music, turning up my music really loud in my car, wanting to get like the full frequency range of bass to treble, and that kind of stuff matters to me. Like having a decent sound system. I enjoy going to see IMAX movies. Get the full big IMAX screen with the full surround sound.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then just being focused on what I can see and hear, and just focusing on these on these details, which I never even realized I did until I started studying typology and
Oh
studying
yeah.
for sensing. Oh yeah, I do that too. And so
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. Yeah, it was kind of the same way for me when I thought I was an INTJ or after taking all those tests. It's like I'm not sensitive. I've kind of learned to not be outwardly sensitive. I very much keep it to myself, and I'm very shy and kind of guarded around people because of my work environment, because of my family environment. Being overly outwardly emotional is just kind of frowned upon everywhere I go. So, um, so I think I've just behaviorally learned to not do that. But yeah. So when with the INTJ testing, I knew it was there though, and it just wasn't being accounted for in any of the INTJ information I was getting. And I was like, how do I account for this? They're like, yes, I do all these analytical type things, and I build systems at work and things like that. But how do I account for this extreme emotional side that I have inside of me? And so yeah, it took time to dig into that and finally uncover the INFP descriptions, and it's helped a lot. It really has. So.
yeah, that's interesting because I've heard of other people doing that when they take an online test and they relate it to how they are at work.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
so, and do you think there's any particular reason why you focused on that aspect, or I don't know, what is it I'm really asking? Is it